out, and then we'll let's go live on Facebook. See if we can make that happen. All right. Let's see if we can do that. If not, we won't worry about it. All right. So here we go. My first polling question for you guys is how would, oh, that's the wrong one. There we go. Working remotely. All right. If you take a few minutes, let me see if I can, let's launch that right quick. Oh, I just jacked that all up. All right. We'll get that squared away here soon. All right, I'll fix that polling here in a second. All right, so here's what we're going to talk about today, guys. I'm recording, so how to be effective remote worker. And I see I've got a lot of little gadgets that I need to play with a little bit more as I become a more effective gadget remote worker here. So let's talk about what we're doing and some of the things that that's going to help us get moving today. So most of you have been in this for a couple of weeks, and either you think it's working well or you think you're not as good as you should be as a remote worker. So I've got a few tips for you today over the next 5 to 10 minutes as we talk about some things that you should be doing now that you may be in a rhythm, or how to get in that rhythm of being a remote worker.
Where's your other work?
Let me mute some lines right quick, and we'll keep this thing moving. So the first thing you need to do, guys, is you've got to create a routine. Whatever your routine was when you were going into the office, hopefully you're maintaining it or being as close to that routine if possible. If not, you need to create a new routine. I know kids are at home, your spouse may be at home, but you've got to create that routine. What time do you get up? What's your early morning success ritual? You know, you still have to shower, wash your face, bathe, get breakfast, get your coffee, all of those things before you go into your designated area. When are you exercising if you were doing that as a part of your day? But you've got to create that daily routine. Whatever that daily routine is, stick with it, okay? If there are some things that you need to tweak, now that your kids are home or your spouse is working with you, find those things and tweak that daily routine so that it works for you, and then stick with it. The next thing, guys, we want to make sure that you do to become an effective is focus on your priorities. What are the 1, 2, or 3 things you have to get done every day? All right. What are those priorities in that day? Focus on those priorities. So whatever those priorities are should be work priorities. Of course, there may be some priorities with the kids since they're at home with you. Their homework, who do they have to, and what time do they have to get in the Google Classroom? Or do they have Zoom meetings, depending on the age of your kids? So focus on the priorities, your priorities personally, your kids' priorities, and then if you have a team that you're leading, you've got to focus on the priorities for your team. And I've got a couple of pointers that we need to get involved with and show you some things there as it relates to what's happening with your team. The next thing, guys, is we got to minimize distractions. We got the home phone ringing, and we've got the kids' things that are going on, and my spouse may be calling me for a few things, and my teammates may be asking me for a few things, and all of those take away from, you know, that daily routine and you staying focused on what it is that you need to get accomplished. So minimize the distractions. Is there a time in your day where you're most productive that you need to go in and knock out, you know, the most important things on your agenda? Is there a time later in the day, in the evening, when it's quieter, that you can go in and make sure that you still accomplish some of the things that you have to accomplish in your day while everybody else may be doing fun things? You've alternated your schedule where that you can have some quiet time or minimize the distractions so that you can get a few things accomplished. The next thing, guys, is you got to have some structure. You know, we've put out a blast calendar, and this calendar is out there 1, 2, 3, probably 6 weeks now, you know, of what we're going to do. So your team has to still have some structure. You still have to have some structure. Your kids they function best with structure. So sit down, take some time to develop some structure into your day or week so that everybody knows what's going on. And that'll help you be more productive as a remote office worker. The next thing we want to do is you've got to have a designated workspace, and you have to have hours. So just like you go into the office, you had a particular time that you were in there and a particular time that you closed the end of your day. Same thing with working from home. Make sure you have a designated area that's minimal to traffic and people coming through and walking through. You know, if your work area is at the kitchen table, then you've got to make sure your hours of operation is not the same time where people are eating lunch or eating breakfast or coming in to have dinner, or if that's a place where you have all of your conversations with your family, you or your team or your family may need to have another area, if possible, where it's a little bit quieter and you understand that this is for work. I've got an 8 to 5 or a 9 to 5 or a 6 to 2 or whatever that time frame is, where you're going to get there and you're going to do some work. The next thing, guys, is we've got to maximize the use of technology. With the majority of your team or parts of your team working remotely, you may need to do things differently. If you were a in-person type of conversation holder, now is the time where you may want to do that in person on Zoom, or you may find another GoToMeeting feature or some type of video hosting tool that's out there. If your team is communicating through text messages and you find that you're getting inundated with a lot of text messages, you may want to go and use GroupMe, or you may want to go and use Slack, or you want to find the Microsoft tool that allows everybody to see what's going on and hold those types of conversations that are held in the office, but it's through technology. You've got to find the tools that are going to work with you and your organization that's going to keep the conversations going. And remember, it can't always be about just work. You've got to find out what's going on with your team and the dynamics of how to help them become more effective. Maybe they need some flexibility in their time or their schedule. So the technology will allow you to do some of those things. So find the things that are going to work for you and your team. Find the technology tools that are going to work for you and your family. And then find the things that will help you be a more effective leader as we manage and supervise and lead remote workers today. The next thing, guys, is communicate early and often. I can't stress enough the importance of communicating right now. You know, the leaders that are being aggressive in communicating, not aggressive in your tone, but how often are you communicating? Does your team know that you have a schedule, that you're going to meet every Monday, you're going to meet every Thursday, or you're going to have a Tuesday conference call, or Friday close of business call, or you're going to have a fun hour on Thursday morning, whatever it is, but you've got to communicate early and you've got to communicate often. You've got to have some clarity to that communication as well. If it's written or if it's verbal or through Zoom, you've got to make sure, leaders, that it's clear what you're communicating and the expectations are there for your team. Okay? So communicate early and often. Find the different ways to do it, through Slack, through Zoom, through whatever it is, but you've got to make sure that your message is getting across. The next thing, team, is you have to set some deadlines. Yeah, you got to set some deadlines. Your deadlines are not just held fast, but this is accountability check-in. You know, as we talk about, you know, how to become effective and being a remote worker, these are some things that you need to set up for yourself so that you're showing that you're being accountable to this time as being a remote worker. Yeah, I've got a designated space, but man, if my calendar is full with everything else and I'm not making sure I'm accomplishing those tasks, then am I really being accountable as I'm working remotely? You know, if I don't set any deadlines or I don't have anything or tasks to complete, who on my team has too much where I can grab some things and help them accomplish the deadlines? Because business still has to continue. We still are getting paid and we still have a responsibility to the organization to accomplish those tasks that we've been assigned, even though we're working remotely, right? The next thing, guys, is, you know, we have a schedule, but what is your schedule? What's your schedule look like? You know, what are the things that you're going to do on a day-to-day basis that are going to help you work effectively at home. And right now you can't really say, all right, and wait on the supervisor to give you that structure. You can't wait on the supervisors to give you, you know, that time frame or assign you every task. You have to create a schedule that's going to help you be the most effective person you can be as you work remotely. All right, so let me go through those real quick again, guys. Number one, hey, we said you got to have a daily routine. All right, your daily routine is going to be key. Then we talked about focus on your priorities. What are the priorities, the 1 or 2 or 3 things that you need to accomplish, you know, every single day? Then we talked about minimizing the distractions, you know, whether it's the kids, the phone, people walking through, you know, you got other things that may be going on, but minimize your distractions so you can focus on those 1 or 2 or 3 things. The next thing is your structure. What is your week going to look like? Not only for you, but for your family, for your team. How can I do those things remotely and be effectively doing those things if I haven't created a schedule? So I need to get some structure there. The next thing is we've got to have a designated workspace. That's going to help us on those priorities and help us to be more effective as we work remotely. But we've got to make sure that that place is a designated space and that I have hours of operation that I'm going to be in that designated space. All right. Then we said, hey, let's look at the technology that we're using. Let's find some ways to maximize that to help us be better while we're working remotely. We said communicate early and often. Communicate, communicate, communicate. And then be accountable with deadlines. So those are the things that'll help us become more effective as we work remotely. Of course, there are going to be some other things, and you're going to hear about them as we do these blasts every week. So here's our schedule for the week. So things that are coming up actually every day. Tomorrow we've got some things going on, and hopefully those quick little 8 or 9 tips, guys, will allow you to fine tune some things that'll help you. Okay, let me look at some of the chats and see what's going on. And then if you don't have any questions from me, we'll end today's session, but let's look and see what people have been saying. All right. Do you ever try and work outside? Man, on nice days, if you have the ability to work outside, take that laptop and go sit outside and work. Those are great things to do. It changes the scenery. I don't know about you, but I work in a basement. There are no windows where I am, so I have to get up, go outside, breathe some fresh air. A couple of days when it was really nice, I've gone outside and worked on my deck, you know, and from my deck rather. And that way I was more productive by changing the scenery. So that's a good question. How should you schedule your breaks? But you should take frequent breaks now, you know, but have that time frame of when you're going to take them. And make sure you're doing things like checking on your kids when you're taking those breaks. So that's a good question on scheduling breaks. What about the boundaries? Set those boundaries. Yes, you got to set boundaries. There's a time that you're going to have a Zoom meeting. You know, you can post a sign on the door in your area that says, hey, you're in a meeting, do not disturb. Let your kids or spouse or others know that, hey, this is the time that you have meetings and when those meetings are. If you want to print out your schedule or your work day, hey, let people know when you're available for them to come in and you can be interrupted. So those are some things that'll help you as well to become effective as we work remotely. So how do you schedule your breaks? I write those things in. I know after spending a couple of hours doing a particular task or on a particular priority, I need to stand up, stretch, you know, get me 5 or 10 minutes of fresh air and then exit and then come back to it. Okay, so you've got to see what works for you in terms of how and when you schedule your breaks and how and when you need that just mental separation from that priority that you own. Yeah, yes, Bronze, I got your question. Can I send you the notes? I'll definitely put those notes out there for you. And this webinar will be uploaded. Using a planner also helps. Thanks, Kim. Yes, you need to use a planner. I'm not the most effective Outlook person that my teammates in the office will tell you, but I've gotten better during this shelter in place. And I do have a day-to-day, almost hour by hour of what I'm going to do in terms of schedule. So guys, we wanted to keep this to a short 15 minutes. So hopefully you've gotten a couple of good things that you can do and implement with your team and through yourself to help you be a better remote worker. So pay attention to things that are going to happen tomorrow. Look at our calendars that's going to be available, and we look forward to seeing you guys in our next blast. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. Essential workers, thank you for what you're doing. We appreciate you. Have a great day.